तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः। शङ्कराचन्द्रशेखरा गङ्गाधरा सुमनोहरा पाहि मां परमेश्वरा मृत्युञ्जय विश्वेश्वरा। शङ्कराचन्द्रशेखरा गङ्गाधरा सुमनोहरा पाहि मां परमेश्वरा मृत्युञ्जय विश्वेश्वरा। नीलकण्ठ भालनेत्र भस्मभूषितसुन्दरा पाहि मां करुणाकरा गिरिजेश ओंकारेश्वरा। शङ्कराचन्द्रशेखरा गङ्गाधरा सुमनोहरा पाहि मां परमेश्वरा मृत्युञ्जय विश्वेश्वरा। ताण्डव प्रिय जय नटेश विश्वनाथ महेश्वरा पाहि मां अभयङ्करा व्याघ्रचर्माम्बरधरा। शङ्कराचन्द्रशेखरा गङ्गाधरा सुमनोहरा पाहि मां परमेश्वरा मृत्युञ्जय विश्वेश्वरा मृत्युञ्जय विश्वेश्वरा। Prostrations to one and all. अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसाक्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः. So in the last class we were discussing Atma Vinigraha, control over the senses. So we were discussing that all our scriptures, they talk of disciplining the sense organs, controlling the sense organs, binding the sense organs. So naturally we may not like this bondage to sense organs. But then we have to understand that this bondage gives us freedom. The bondage prescribed by the scriptures actually give us freedom, whereas freedom to the senses lead us to bondage. This point we have to be clear. For example, scriptures say don't smoke, don't drink. That appears to be a bondage. But what is the end result? When I don't smoke, when I don't drink, when I don't take drugs, I become free. What about the other person who doesn't listen to the scriptural injunctions? He smokes and finally he becomes a chain smoker. See, that is bondage. He drinks and later on he becomes a drunkard. Now that is bondage. He takes drugs and finally he becomes a drug addict. So, freedom given to senses lead us to bondage. Bondage prescribed by the scriptures, when followed, leads us to freedom. Pujya Gurudev gives a beautiful example of this traffic signal. So when we follow the traffic signals, it appears that we are bound by the traffic rules. But what is the result of that bondage to traffic rules? The result is freedom. Everybody is able to reach their destination. But suppose everybody is free to move, then what will happen? Nobody becomes free to move. Nobody is able to move. When everybody is given the freedom of movement, nobody is able to move. Everybody becomes bound. Isn't it? While traveling, we are asked to put our seat belts. Seat belt appear to be a bondage, but what is the end result? The end result is I am safe and secure. Nowadays, youngsters don't want to put the helmet. But what is that helmet for? It appears to be a bondage. There is an inconvenience of bondage, no doubt, but it ultimately protects me, saves me. In the aeroplanes, seat belts are compulsory. Their air hostesses, they come and check whether you have put your seat belts or not. It is only for our safety that they do all these things. In the same way, whenever scriptures say Atma Vinigraha, controlling the sense organs, it is only for our own good. This we have to understand. Now moving further, we go to the next verse. Indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. So in this verse we have three more values. Indriyartheshu vairagyam, that is the 10th one. Anahankaraha, that is the 11th one. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam, that is the 12th one. So 10th one we will see Indriyartheshu vairagyam. Vairagyam, dispassion. Towards what? Indriya artheshu, towards the sense objects. Dispassion, disinterest towards the sense objects. Why is this dispassion glorified? This dispassion is glorified because, as Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita in the 5th chapter, Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhogaha, all the pleasures born out of samsparshaja. When sense organs contact the sense objects, a pleasure is born. Bhagavan says, dukkha yonaya, it is nothing but wombs of sorrows. It is filled with sorrow. In short, any worldly joy is nothing but sorrow. In the beginning it may appear to be joy, but in the end it is always sorrow only. Agre amrutopamam pariname vishamiva. In the beginning it is like amrutam, but what is the end result? Visham, it's poison. To make this clear, there is a beautiful verse by Bhartrhari in Vairagya Shatakam. What does Bhartrhari say? So this famous verse, I am sure you must have heard. Bhoge roga bhayam kule chuti bhayam vitte nrupalad bhayam mane dainya bhayam bale ripu bhayam rupe jaraya bhayam shastre vadi bhayam gune khala bhayam काये कृतान्ताद्भयम् सर्वं वस्तु भयान्वितं भुवि नृणां वैराग्यमेवा भयम्. So here Bhartrhari says, whatever joys you have in this world, the so-called worldly joys, they are all filled with various fears, and therefore it is nothing but sorrow only. So what are the different joys available? Bhoge roga bhayam, first one. In all bhogas, in all sense pleasures of this world, what is the fear? The fear of roga is there, disease is there. So in the beginning it is wonderful while indulgence, it is amrutam, but what is end result? Rogam, disease, it is visham, poison. All the worldly pleasures are like that. In the beginning there is a great joy, in the end there is sorrow. In the beginning there is bhoga, and what is the final result? Roga, disease. So it is better to have vairagyam towards it. That is the point. Bhoge roga bhayam. All indulgences are like that. The vitalities of the body, they are drained away. And physical disease. सुखत क्रियते रामा भोगः पश्चात हंत शरीरे रोगः. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, for joy, for happiness we indulge in pleasures, but in the end what is the result? Paschat sharire rogah. That is what is said here. Bhoge roga bhayam kule chuti bhayam. Now there is a great joy in being born in good family, famous families. But then once you are born in that family, there is a bhayam. What is the fear? The fear is the name of our family should not be tarnished. I should not do something because of which the family name is tarnished. That fear is always there, you see. So on one side is the joy of being born in famous families, elite families, aristocratic families, but at the same time there is always a fear of getting our name tarnished. Kule here also means the positions, the powers and positions in the society. There is a great joy in what you call, in occupying the higher seats, the powerful positions, the PMs and CMs, the MPs and MLAs. We find great joy in occupying the seats of power. But then when that power goes away because of some reason, then what happens? There is always misery, isn't it? When you are powerful, you are respected, adored, revered, but when the power goes away, people also go away from you. Ask the politicians, they know better. Kule chuti bhayam vitte nrupalad bhayam. People who have lot of money. Now there is a joy of being rich, but at the same time the joy is intermixed with lots of fears. The fears of insecurity is there. All the anti-social elements, thieves and robbers Whom do they chase? Not the poor man, but the rich people. All the raids that happen in the society. Where do the raids happen? Not in the huts of poor people, but only the rich people. Even the government is behind these rich people to get maximum tax from them. Isn't it? It is said when you become richer and richer, you gain false friends and genuine enemies. There is another problem. So all the time the rich person feels a kind of insecurity. You gain wealth to make yourself secure, but unfortunately the more and more wealth you gain, the more and more you become insecure. See, for happiness you try to become richer, but in the end it gives only misery. Vittendrupalad bhayam mane dainya bhayam. When you are honored in the society. So what happens when we are honored? Our ego starts bloating up, becomes bigger and bigger. And to the extent our ego is big, to that extent there is a pain of humiliation also. To what extent is humiliation and insult painful? To the extent we have made this ego bigger. And how does the ego become big? Through honor, through respect and recognition, awards and rewards in the society. It makes my ego big. But as the ego becomes big, there is always a fear of humiliation and insult. That's why Bhagavan says, Sambhavitasya cha akirtihi maranad atirichyate. Bhagavan says, Arjuna, you are revered and respected in the society. Just imagine what will happen if akirti comes to you. Ill fame comes to you. It is far better than even death, Bhagavan says. So, mane dainya bhayam. See, when you are honored, you feel the joy of honor. But behind that joy, what is hidden? The pain of humiliation is also hidden. Then, bale ripu bhayam. If you are strong, if you are powerful, you are always scared of the opponent who may someday conquer you. So here bale means it can mean all the talents and abilities of a person. So an Olympic player who makes records in Olympics, when he makes records there is a great joy. But soon when his records are broken by somebody else, then not only his record is broken, his heart is also broken. Isn't it? Bale ripu bhayam. I'm sure you must be knowing about that Mike Tyson, the youngest world #1 heavyweight boxing champion. There was a time when he was constantly winning all games. And there was a time when most of his opponents used to fall down, he used to knock them down. The hit was so strong that the opponent could not even stand up within that limited time. I think some 10 times they count, and by that count you are supposed to get up. The opponent could not even stand up. Such was the powerful blows used to land on the opponent. And he became very arrogant and egoistic. But soon a time came when others started winning over him. And especially that match, I think it was Evander Holyfield. So as the match was in progress, he understood that he will not win. He could not take it because that joy of winning had so possessed him. Thus constantly he was winning. So he could not even think of losing a match. Then what did he do? He just went, caught hold of him and bit one part of his ear out. Chewed it out. Poor Holyfield, his ear was bleeding. He caught his ear and I think the game was stopped. The point is this, bhale ripu bhayam. When you are strong, you are always jealous of, you are scared of somebody else who might become stronger than you. So even when you are winning, you are not happy, you are worried about the failures of the future. The world champion is always scared that this time I am the champion, but what about next? I have to maintain this championship, being a champion. So nobody is happy, that's the point. Rupe jaraya bhayam. People who have what you call beautiful physique, those who are handsome, those who are beautiful, those who are blessed with beauty, they are also scared. They are scared of what? Jara, old age. To know what it is, ask these actors and actresses. Throughout their life, they enjoyed their beauty. But slowly, as they become old, what happens? A time comes when the makeup kits will not work. Even the cosmetic surgeries will not work. Old age is such. Very many times it so happens, people go to such extremes because they are not able to accept old age gracefully. They go to such extremes in cosmetic surgeries that they become uglier with all these surgeries. Even the doctors say, see, we cannot guarantee you. We may perform surgery, but there is no guarantee that you will look more beautiful. They take the risk, and finally what happens? They become uglier. To such an extent, they don't even come out of their residence. All such cases we hear. What is the mistake they have done? They reveled in the joy of being called beautiful, handsome, etc. But then, when they are no more beautiful, they are no more able to accept it. So that misery was because of this reveling in being beautiful. Shastre Vadi Bhayam. The Shastras are meant to liberate us, but the very study of the scriptures can create ego in us, can create pride in us. People become arrogant of their oratory skills, about their intelligence, about their memory. So they are praised for their scholarly dispositions, scholarly discourses. But when they find some other scholar who refute their arguments, then they become miserable. So even the scriptures, when studied for worldly joy, can give only misery. Shastre Vadibhayam, Gune Khalabhayam. Sometimes we are happy when others call us virtuous. We are proud of our own virtues, Guna. But then Khalabhayam is there. If somebody starts spreading some false rumors against us, we are not able to take it. The best example is our Kapil Dev. The false rumor was spread that he was involved in match fixing. Then what happened? In one interview, he started bitterly crying. He literally broke down. He was in tears. His fans could not even believe. But this is what happens. Whatever be the thing, if I am proud of any worldly attainment, then that will give me only sorrow. This is the point of discussion now. Gune Khalabhayam, Kaye Kritantad Bhayam. Some people are proud of their long life. People who cross 100. So these people go to interview them. Sir, how is it that you could live so long? So then they give an interview. I eat very less. I do exercise every day. I don't worry much, etc., etc., etc. People who are above 100, even they don't want to die. They are not able to see, hear, etc. Even then they want to hold on to life. Because of praise that, oh, here is a man who has crossed 100, that joy he receives when people praise him for living a long life. So, kaye kritantat bhayam, the body is scared of kritanta, death. They are scared of death. They don't want to die. Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvindranam vairagyameva bhayam. So therefore, what is the essence of this discussion? The essence of discussion is, in this world, any worldly joy, whether it is coming from power, position, looks, education, family, whatever be the reason, we can call it the impermanent realities of life. Any joy born out of the impermanent realities of life, any worldly joy can, in the end, can give only misery to us. It is not joy, it is only misery. It is dukkha yoni, as Bhagavan says, is a womb of miseries, sorrows. Just like children come out of womb, what does this womb give? It gives dukkha, only sorrow. One after the other, it gives only sorrow. So actually speaking, worldly joy is not joy, it is only sorrow. Now the question is, how to cultivate vairagya? To cultivate vairagya, what we have to do is, never pay attention to the pleasure of indulgence. Pay attention to the pain after indulgence. This is the formula. Bhoge roga bhayam, say for example. So first is bhoga, that is the first thing. So during indulgence there is joy, there is worldly joy. So what is the mistake we make? We only pay attention to that joy, and when the pain comes, we take away our mind from that pain. We distract the mind from the pain. We don't pay attention to the pain. That is why vairagya doesn't come. Vairagya comes when our attention is upon the pain. Whatever you pay attention to, that is registered by the mind. So the joy of indulgence, you pay attention, so therefore the mind registers it. The pain after indulgence, you distract the mind from the pain. You make yourself busy with so many other things, so that you will not feel the pain. And when you make yourself busy with so many other things, the pain is not registered in the mind. So the end result after indulgence, what is registered? Only the pleasure of indulgence is registered, not the pain after indulgence. So next time when that sense object comes in front, what does the mind say? The mind will say, this is a very nice sense object, let us indulge. Why? Because in the past I have gained joy out of it. The mind doesn't register the pain, it forgets the pain, it remembers only the pleasure, and so therefore again and again we indulge in sense objects. So what is the solution? The solution is, when that pain comes, don't allow the mind to wander here and there, sit and pay attention to pain. Go through the pain and teach the mind, oh mind, you indulge in it to gain joy, isn't it? Now see, what are you getting? You are getting pain. This is what you want? In the future also, do you want to indulge? Again and again in the same pain? Do you want pain again and again? Teach the mind, educate the mind, expose the mind to this pain. Let the mind go through that pain consciously, with full awareness, with full attention. Then what gets registered? The pain gets registered. And once the pain is registered in the mind, next time when the sense object comes, what will the mind say? Mind say, no, this is painful. I don't want it. Mind becomes sensitive to pain. So this is the way vairagyam has to be cultivated. Whenever the sense object is seen, let not the mind remember the temporary joy of indulgence. Let it remember the permanent pain after indulgence. Suppose a cow comes to you and you have a bunch of green grass and you feed that cow. That cow is eating that grass, fully involved, and suddenly you take one stick and prop properly give a beating, a thrashing, the cow runs away, leaving the grass. After 1 or 2 days, again you show the green grass. Will the cow come near you? No. Why? It doesn't remember the joy of eating, it remembers only the pain of beating, isn't it? What does it remember? The pain of beating. So that cow, even though you are showing green grass, the cow will not come near you. In the same way, the mind also has to be educated. Remember this verse, Bhoge Roga Bhayam. Oh my dear mind, all these joys, it is not joy, it is nothing but pain. Pain is concealed, it's hidden inside. Outside, it appears to be joy, but inside it is only pain. Once the mind is thoroughly educated in it, such a mind will not go towards worldly pleasures. Vairagyam indriyartheshu vairagyam. This is one aspect. So another aspect is training the mind in the joys of the higher. So two things we have to train the mind. Number one, train the mind that all these worldly things are painful. The second aspect of training is train the mind that higher joys of spirituality alone is joyful. So then the mind is able to withdraw from the world, and that mind has to be occupied in the higher, in meditation, etc. Both are necessary. Yes, so continuing, the next one is anahankaraha. Anahankaraha means what? Absence of ahankara, ego. Now you may ask, Swamiji, it is already come. Amanitvam is nothing but anahankara only. Amanitvam, freedom from mana, ego. Actually speaking, amanitvam and ahankara both are same. But since Bhagavan has mentioned it separately, now we will have to make a difference. So what is the difference? Mana is with respect to sense of possession. Ahankara is with respect to sense of action, sense of doership. So when I am proud of something which I possess, then I can say it is manitvam, the pride of possessing something. But when I am proud of doing something, kartrutva bhava is strong. I say, I did it, because of me things happen. When I say that, then we can say ahankara. So with respect to action, it is ahankara. With respect to possession, it is manitvam. Actually speaking, both are same. But since here two different terms are given, let us make classification in this way. With respect to possession, it is mana. With respect to action, it is ahankara. So anahankara means what? Anahankara means even when you do, you say, Bhagavan, I am only an instrument, you are the doer. This is anahankara. Bhagavan, you are the doer because the body is yours. The body is maintained by you. The strength in the body is yours. The talents and capacity is yours. The field of action, yours. The instruments of action, yours. The karma phala also comes from you. Therefore, Bhagavan, since everything belongs to you, this action also is yours. So then that is called anahankara. Best example is our Hanumanji. So as Tulsi Raman says, Hanumanji crossed the ocean. How? So Hanumanji is compared with Rama Bana, like the arrow. So actually speaking, you see only the arrow, but who chooses the arrow? The shooter chooses the arrow. The speed is decided by the shooter. The direction is decided by the shooter. The target is decided by the shooter. Arrow is chosen by the shooter. So everything is decided by the shooter. You don't see the shooter, you see only the arrow flying and hitting the target. Arrow by itself has no choice. It doesn't take any decision. Every decision is taken by the shooter. In the same way, Hanumanji went in search of Sita Mata. He was a perfect instrument in the hands of the Lord. And this attitude becomes very clear in the end when Bhagavan praises Hanuman for everything what he did. Hanuman never takes any credit. Hanuman says, Bhagavan, I am not even a Nabhachara, Sthalachara or Jalachara, I am a mere Shakhachara. Jumping from one branch to another, that's all what I know. A mere monkey. So whatever has been achieved, it's only by your grace. You did everything. I was a mere instrument in your hands. This way Hanumanji says. So in the same way, when our actions are done, let us also have the same attitude. Oh Lord, I am only a mere instrument in your hand. You are the real doer. This attitude is called anahankara. Now an interesting question which people ask. Swamiji, if you say everything God does, then the crimes done by the criminals also must be done by God. This is the question they ask. If everything is done by God, then the crimes are also done by God. Now here we have to make a difference. See, whenever we do noble actions, we get so many support, isn't it? We get the support of the scriptures. For any noble action, we get the support of the scriptures. We get the support of our teachers, our gurus. We get the support of the society. So we get support from so many people when we do something good. But when we do something bad, criminal, nobody supports us. So what does it mean? A criminal action is my own action. I cannot say God did it. In fact, God is a very conscience in me, the voice of conscience. What does that voice say? The inner voice of conscience will always object, will revolt when we try to even think of any crime. The inner voice says, don't do it, it is wrong. So when that voice of conscience is so clearly guiding me not to do it, how can I say this action also belongs to God? No. When good actions are done, there are so many people who support me, so I cannot say it is my action. But when bad actions are done, it is my vasanas which compel me to do, so definitely it is my actions only. This has to be understood. So this is anahankara. Much discussion we will not take up because we have already spent a lot of time in amanitvam. So now moving on to the next one. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. Anudarshanam. Anudarshanam means constantly seeing. Constantly. Anudarshanam. Constantly seeing. What should I see? Dukkha dosha anudarshanam. I should constantly see the dosha, defect. What is the defect? Dukkha is the defect. Dukkha itself is the defect. So I must constantly see dukkha. In what? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. Janma, birth. Mrityu, death. Jara, old age. Vyadhi, disease. Birth, death, old age, disease. Now these are all the happenings on the body, the problems of the body, the sorrows of the body. So what should I do? I should constantly see these defects. The moment you have a body, you will have all this. If you are embodied, if you possess a physical body, you will have janma, mrityu, jara and vyadhi. And what are they? It is nothing but dukkha, please understand. And therefore it is dosha. What is defect? Defect is that which gives us pain. Dukkha dosha. In short, taking up any body is painful. This anudarshanam constantly you see. This anudarshanam is an important word because very many times I don't want to pay attention to the harsh realities of life. I try to ignore it. Because when I pay attention to harsh realities of life, I become miserable. So conveniently, I ignore these facts of life. This is a mistake we all do. Very many people don't even want to discuss about disease and death. They don't like it. And just because you don't discuss doesn't mean you will not fall sick or you will not die. It is better we discuss. So the example given is about this bird in the desert. So it seems this bird, when it sees some animal charging towards it, this bird buries its head inside the sand, it seems. It thinks, if I am not seeing it, I am safe from all trouble. In the same way, let us not ignore these realities of life. Therefore, Bhagavan uses the term anudarshanam. Pay attention, pay attention. Pay attention to the bitter realities of life. Then what will happen? If you pay attention to the bitter realities of life, there is all the possibility of gaining mumukshutvam, desire for liberation. Vasudeva, father of Lord Sri Krishna, in Bhagavatam, Vasudevji prays to Naradji. O Rishe, please bless me that I don't take birth again. Then Naradji asks, O Rishe, O Vasudevji, in your previous birth you did so much of tapas and finally you asked from the Lord, O Lord, you be born as my son. This was what you asked. You never asked for liberation. So then Vasudevji says, O Rishe, it was in my delusion that I have asked this. Now I ask you, I don't want any birth again. Becoming free from this body, this is liberation. Becoming free from birth-death cycle, this is liberation. So please bless me that I am not born again. Just imagine how much ever great punyas you might have done, life is miserable only. Maybe you are born in a very great family with lot of worldly comforts and conveniences, respect, regard, etc. But even then, these are the realities. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, it will come to everyone. Isn't it? In Ayurveda, body is defined as Shariram Khalu Vyadhi Mandiram. It's a temple of disease. That's how Ayurveda defines the physical body. In Google, just type disease and then search. You will be amazed. The number of diseases that we have in this world, it's literally innumerable. Every limb can have so many types of disease. And nowadays, with all these kinds of artificial living and food adulteration, etc., the diseases are multiplying. Very many diseases, doctors even don't know what is that disease. They are not even able to diagnose it. So what is the instruction of Bhagavan? Anudarshanam, pay attention, don't escape. Educate the mind that living in this body is a miserable experience. It is not a joyful experience. So never crave for a body. Try everything to be free from the body. Anudarshanam. Now, what is the best way of anudarshanam? The best way is serve some old people. If you want to see the defects of the physical body, the best way is serve old and the sick. That is why there is a very famous Subhashitam which says, Abhivadana Shilasya Nityam Vruddhopasevinah Chatvari Tasya Vardhante Ayurvidya Yashobalam. Very famous Subhashitam. It says, people who are Abhivadana Shilasya, who bow down to the elders, Nityam Vruddhopasevinah, those who serve the elderly people, take care of them. What happens to them? Chatvari tasya vardhante. These four things grow in them. What are they? Ayu, Vidya, Yashas and Balam. Ayu, long life. How? When you take care of the old people, treat them, take care of them, what happens? You become aware of the suffering in the body. So naturally you do exercise, good food, etc. You become conscious of physical suffering and therefore you take care of your own health. In this way, Ayu grows. Then the second one is Vidya. Vidya means knowledge. Now you are serving this old man. So old people generally they are rich in wisdom, knowledge. And you are Abhivadana Shilasya. With all love, humility, dedication you are taking care. So naturally in the heart of that old man, love for you comes. And out of love, this old man pours out his wisdom to you. In this way, your Vidya increases. Ayuhu, Vidya, the third one is Yashas, fame. When you are lovingly taking care of old people, others are watching it. So naturally, you earn respect from them. That is Yashas. And the fourth one, Balam, strength. You become physically strong. You become mentally strong, intellectually strong and spiritually strong. Balam also comes. So it is always nice to serve the old people. So says Subhashitam. Now, these four things are there. Ayu, Vidya, Yashas, Balam. There is one more thing, and which is the most important thing, and that is Mumukshutvam. When you take care of old people, Mumukshutvam also grows. Because in front of you, when you see the suffering of this old man, all these thoughts come. Look at this man. Once upon a time, he was so famous, so capable, so commanding. But look at him now. These thoughts come. How much he is suffering. Then the next thought will be, today he is suffering, tomorrow is my turn. A day will come when I will also become old and I will also suffer. Next question will be, how to avoid this suffering? Then all this, your scriptural knowledge comes. There is only one way to put an end to suffering. Otherwise it is punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Old age will keep coming and trouble you. There is only one way. What is the way? Liberation. And how to get liberated? Gain self-knowledge. So, if you want to grow in Mumukshutvam, serve some old people. Be with them. Then Anudarshanam happens. That's why we say grandparents never send them to old age home. Let them be in your own home. Take care of them. Take care of your old parents. Not only you are benefited, the grandchildren are also benefited. They get an opportunity to serve their grandparents, and therefore Ayurvidya Yashobalam comes. They get the blessing of their grandparents. This is one thing, but at the same time, these grandchildren at a very young age, they are exposed to these harsh realities of life called old age. So at a very young age, they see the problems of life. At a very young age, they become introspective. They become God-fearing. They will take care of their own health. All these virtues come. So therefore, it is always good to have grandparents at home. There are so many lessons we can learn when old people are there at home. Now here, for this verse, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says about these old people. Jarayam prajna shakti tejo nirodha dosha anudarshanam paribhutata cha. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says. What happens when a person becomes old? Prajna shakti tejo nirodha. So here, let us discuss a little about this old age. What are the problems faced by these old people and how to overcome them? The first problem is, of course, the failing physical health. They are not able to see, they are not able to hear. As someone has beautifully pointed out, Yamaraj starts sending signals, it seems, warnings. What is the warning? Pack up, it is time to leave this earthly plane. So what are the signals? Number one, the hairs become grey. Number two, the ears are not able to hear. Number three, the eyes are not able to see. Number four, the tooth, one by one, it starts going away. Pain in the joints. So these are all the warnings, it seems, given by Yamaraj. But what do this man do? He conveniently ignores these warnings. He bypasses these warnings. How? Hairs turn grey, he dyes it, colors it back to black. Ears are not able to hear, he uses hearing aid. Eyes are not able to see, he uses glass. Tooth gone one by one, he uses dentures. He is not able to sit or stand, the joints pain, he is not able to climb the staircase, he uses the lift. So in this way, this old man tries to ignore the warnings given by Yamaraj. Anyway, the point is, physical health fails. This is the first one. The second problem faced by these old people is uncontrolled desires. There is a desire to eat so many things, but my body cannot digest it. There is a desire to go places, but my physical body cannot stand that strain. I am not able to sit or stand, but the desire is there to roam around the world. You see, this is another problem faced by old people, uncontrolled desires. Third one, intense attachments. They are attached to their near and dear ones, to their home, to their family, to their possession, etc. Attachment. So you will find this 90-year-old grandmother worrying about 70-year-old son and 50-year-old grandson and 25-year-old great-grandson. This grandma is worrying. Why? Attachment. Attachment can be a great problem for old people. And the fourth one is the untamed ego. This is another problem. Old people very many times feel that they are ignored by their own family members. Especially that pain is intense when the ego is very big. The old man complains, decisions are taken without consulting me. The important decisions at home are taken without consulting me, they complain. Nobody is asking solutions from me. And even the advice which I gave, nobody is implementing. These are all the complaints which the old people grumble about. Let us understand it is all because of the ego. So these are the four problems faced by old people. Number one, the failing health. Number two, uncontrolled desires. Number three, intense attachments. And number four, the untamed ego. So generally you will find these old people, to come out of their misery, they again and again go back to their past. They keep remembering some glorious moments of their life and tell the same story again and again to others. This is called as Vardhakya Puranam. Vedavyasji wrote only 18 Puranam. We wrote another our own Puranam, that is called as Vardhakya Puranam. In Vardhakya Puranam, who is the Ishtadevata? My own ego is the Ishtadevata. I glorify myself. So all those moments, glorious moments of the past, I recollect and again relive so that my bitter present can be pleasant. I make my bitter present pleasant by remembering my glorious past. So this is one you will find almost all old people doing this. They might have told the same story, but again and again they will repeat it. They are reliving their past glorious moment. Why are they doing it? To escape from the bitter present, they do this. How to come out of this old age problem? The only way in which we can come out of this old age problem is by being spiritual. There is no other way. Don't try to escape from old age problems. Try to find solution for the problem. So the first solution is physical health. How spirituality deals with it? Spirituality says you are not the body. Body will have trouble. It will have BP, sugar, cholesterol, everything it will have. You don't have to worry. Shift your importance from the body to consciousness. This is what spirituality says, because you are consciousness. When you identify with the body, when you give too much of importance to the body by paying too much of attention to the body, then the suffering also increases. Whatever medication is needed, give it, but attention, importance should be given to consciousness. Give less importance to body, more importance to consciousness. That is what spirituality says. So then what happens? When you give no much importance to the body, your mind also becomes peaceful. As far as the desires and attachments are concerned, you transform it, you make it spiritual desires and spiritual attachment. Now your attachment is towards God. So naturally all the other attachments, worldly attachments, wither away. This way you become free from those problems also. And finally the ego problem. As far as a spiritual person is concerned, in all spiritual sadhana, what is the one thing which is emphasized? Dissolving the ego, eliminating the ego, annihilating the ego, destroying the ego. So the entire spiritual process is destruction of the ego. So as you keep progressing in spirituality, you will find handling the ego becomes very easy. Isn't it? So the one solution for all old age problem is become spiritual. Make yourself busy with some or the other classes, with some or the other discourses, talks, with contemplation, reading good books, spiritual books. This is the best way to spend time in old age. The best way. Otherwise it will be vruddhastavat chinta saktah. But if you spend time in spirituality, then vruddhastavat, it will be brahmani saktah. That's the best way to spend old age. And old people, they are blessed in one way. Nobody disturbs them and they have a lot of time. Because after retirement, you have lots of time and nobody disturbs you. So why not make use of this time in the best possible way? The best possible way is not by spending time in clubs and pubs. No. The best possible way is to remain spiritual. This is the way old age should be spent. So this verse is over. Now we will go to the next verse, next value. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyid dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Vishnu Priya Varalakshmi Namo Namo Amita Saubhagya Sundari वरलक्ष्मी नमो नमो अमित सौभाग्य सुन्दरी देवी शुभदे माते वरदे अष्ट ऐश्वर्य सम्प्रदे देवी शुभदे माते वरदे अष्ट ऐश्वर्य सम्प्रदे सकल भाग्यदायिनी सकल भाग्यदायिनी कामितार्थप्रदायिनी सकल भाग्यदायिनी कामितार्थप्रदायिनी विष्णुप्रिये वरलक्ष्मी नमो नमो अमित सौभाग्य सुन्दरी पद्मनयने पद्मवदने पद्मासनशोभिते पद्मनयने पद्मवदने पद्मासनशोभिते पद्मनाभप्रिये माते पद्मनाभप्रिये माते पद्मालये रक्ष मां पद्मनाभप्रिये माते पद्मालये रक्ष मां विष्णुप्रिये वरलक्ष्मी नमो नमो अमित सौभाग्य सुन्दरी विष्णुप्रिये वरलक्ष्मी नमो नमो